This is the first version of Ultimate Chicken Horse from almost 8 months ago. I wanted to show you this to show you when the animation started. This was after a 1-weekend game jam, and all we had were a few main poses of animation. The goal of the game is to get to the flag at the end of the level that you and your competitors take turns adding pieces to, trying to make it hard but not impossible. Look at that animation, look at the characters. They kind of just pop around. It works, but it's kind of lame. Let's fast forward 8 months and you can see where it is at now. This is the game in its current state, Ultimate Chicken Horse. This is the lobby area. You can pick your characters, jump around, and get a feel for the controls before you actually get in a level. Hopefully, you can see how much character animation has been added and fine-tuned. There are actually lots of frames and key poses that originated from the original game jam, but there's tons of transitions between those original pieces that make all the difference. There's a nice transition as you turn back and forth. If I slow down the speed of the game to half speed, you can see the weird smear animation frames that make the effect work. When you jump onto the wall, you get a quick flip transition that feels really good. In real time, it's so fast you barely see it, but in slow motion it's super obvious that there's a big smear to get onto the wall. Once you're dedicated to adding all these transitions, you have to take into account all the different variants. Like right now, there are 2 transitions when you jump from a wall, depending on the direction you want to be facing when you leave the wall. This adds more work and more code, but once it's in, it feels so much better. I think I'm actually missing a flip transition when you're jumping in the air. There's no transition animation from one side to the other. Let's go draw it now. So this is the sped up version of the animation process. It took about 12 minutes to animate the transition frames that I was needing. So I'm using a program called TV Paint. It's great for 2D animation. I like it because it's fast and it has all sorts of customization features and tools. So I have the scene set up using onion skins so that I can see the frame before and frame after. First step is to block out the body, and then I put in the mouth, transitioning from one side to the other. I'm just imagining how the motion would go. For this one I do a funny thing with the mouth where it's just an empty space so that the color from the background will show through. I think it gives it a funny look. So I draw in the mane and then the eyeballs, just always imagining where they could go and just trying to give a bit of an impression of them. They don't have to be accurate. So I go through at the tail, add a little bit of color on the tail, and next come the legs and the feet. This stuff is pretty much just all almost random lines and colors. It's not really a scientific process, I just add things in. Trimmed up the body, made it a little bit thinner so that it feels a bit more like he's rotating. Added more mane, a little bit of shadow, a little texture on the tail so that it feels like it's in motion more. I'm just swinging it back and forth to see if it works, and that's all it took. To get the animation into Unity, I imported it as a sprite, got it to the right size, so I made a new animation that's just the 2 frames of transition. It took quite a while to do this, just because Unity is quite a complicated thing. So next I had to set some animation triggers in the code so that when he's jumping, the animator would flip. That's what those 2 pieces of code were. And then it was lots of tweaking and messing with the animator in Unity. The animator is sort of like a flowchart in Unity that shows which animations will play and when and how they're all connected. So I did get the transition animation to work. You can see now when he jumps, if I flip him back and forth, there's a nice transition that goes between the 2 sides, and it feels way better. I'll have to do that for all the characters. The last thing I wanted to do was to go to a level and play around a bit with the raccoon and chicken, just to show how they work. So, chicken. Look at that little twist animation. Go to super slow-mo. 2 smear frames to get from one side to the other, but it looks way better when it's there. Jumps on the wall. Gets a quick smear. Go even slower so we can see that. Whoop. In real time, it's almost invisible to the naked eye, but your brain feels it, and your brain is goo, and that is what we want to influence. Another big thing I did was when you're going up and down, there's lots of different states of jump. So there's going up, peak, going down, and there's transitions between all those different states. I've seen some ways of implementing it that are a little different than what I did, which is sort of just a linear transition between different states, but it seems to work pretty well for what we're doing. And we have a duck, no smears on that, it's just animation. They feel pretty, the look up and look down for the chicken feel a little stiff, and that's because they have no smears. If we look at the raccoon, his look up and down, well, especially his down, is very fast, and people comment on it that he feels faster than the other characters because he really has some good smears going on. Like, this was a funny one that I added recently. When he just twists, there's just so much smear, it looks kind of ridiculous in slow motion. It's like, what happens? Oh god. When we go at full speed, it just feels snappy. I might want to redo that drawing because it's a little too weird. It might be distracting and call attention to itself. But overall, it still gives you a nice feel. And then you go back and forth, you get this weird little tornado of movement, which just looks way better than not having that there and doing that same rock back and forth. Let's put some crazy stuff in the level, just for fun. We'll do a little something crazy. A little saw blade there. Never hurt anybody except maybe raccoon. The death animations need lots and lots of work. They're not particularly well animated yet. So if that game looked interesting to you and if you want to try it out, we have a demo at kickstarter.ultimatechickenhorse.com. Thanks.